Tommy Richman just cannot seem to get it right with hip hop, can he? Just 2 weeks after he said, I am not a hip hop artist, it looks like his big record, $1 Million Baby, might, and that's the key word, might be competing in the rap categories at the Grammys. What is even going on? Let's get into it. So this story has a little bit of nuance that I don't think is being reported on the right way. I'm going to get into that later in this video about the Grammys and the actual nomination process. But first, let's just break down the story. So the Hollywood Reporter shared that Tommy Richman's $1 Million Baby, this is his big record. So this is what the Hollywood Reporter said. Tommy Richman's $1 Million Baby will compete for rap Grammys. They say that $1 Million Baby was submitted, that is a key word we're going to get back to in a second, was submitted for Best Rap Song and Best Melodic Rap Performance at the 2025 show. If nominated, okay, that's another word, put that in your notebook, I'm going to get back to that, Richman's jam would compete against Not Like Us, Like That, Hiss, Yeah Glow, Carnival, like records that were actually hip-hop records. So, of course, everybody got really angry and, Twitter went to a crazy chaos. How could Tommy Richman say, I'm not a hip hop artist, but the optics are that he seems to want these rap awards and like what's going on? What's up with that? So on the surface level, it doesn't look good for Tommy Richman. And it seems like he's one of those artists who, how do I say this in a nice way, likes to use hip hop as sort of like the foot in the door. He wants to scoop up the awards, leverage his privilege in many ways, and then he doesn't want to be seen as a hip-hop artist because he feels there's negative connotations around that. If you didn't see my first video discussing Tommy Richman, genres, and why they're so problematic, I highly suggest you watch it because I do go into the history of musical genres and how initially they really were about gatekeeping. And in America, a lot of that gatekeeping has to do with racial segregation. So we see a white artist in Tommy Richman rejecting hip hop publicly, or so it seems, and then wanting to win awards that should be relegated for hip hop artists. So I get why people are angry, they're confused, like Tommy is just not in a great place right now in hip hop. But what I do think is really important, and in a lot of these talking head videos and hot takes, I haven't seen people really getting into the reporting. So this is what Hollywood Reporter said. A representative for Richman didn't reply to an email seeking comment. First round voting for the Grammys ended on Tuesday. Nominations will be announced November 8th, and final voting is on December 12th through January the 3rd. So for those of you who don't know, the process of how people get Grammys is a multi-step process. I just joined the Recording Academy this year, so yes, I am the class of 2024, but I'm what's called a professional member. What that means is I am not able to vote yet. That's something I'm working on and actually have reached out to the head of the Grammys because I personally feel that journalists should be able to vote, but the way that it is now, we aren't inherently voters. The people who vote for Grammys have actual music credits. So these are artists, producers, mixers. Sometimes you'll get people who've done remixes. Maybe if you happen to like just be credited as part of the personnel on an album, like there are actual ways that you are able to become a voting member. But anyone who's a part of the Recording Academy, whether it's a voting member or a professional member, we are allowed to put up artists and projects as nominations. So it's unclear to me who actually nominated Tommy Richman in this category. Usually it would be the artists themselves, or it would be their record label. So that's most likely who did it. So I don't think we can immediately blame Tommy because it could very well be his record label. Tommy is signed to Pulse, but he's also in partnership with Brent Faiyaz's label. So we don't know. It could have been someone from Pulse doing the nominations. It could be somebody from Brent's side doing the nominations. All of that is unclear. It's also possible that maybe like the producer of the record, the mixer, like just somebody else was the one who did the nomination, and maybe they misrepresented or miscategorized what the genre should be. First round of voting just ended. I cannot see this record even getting to the nomination stage. This is just step one. I can't see it making it to the next round because there are just too many big hip hop records. And think about it, who's doing the voting? In these categories, most likely it's people who work in hip hop. Nobody who works in hip hop is going to vote for this specific record to be in the hip hop category. That just wouldn't make any sense. Also, remember what I said earlier in this video. Million Dollar Baby has been submitted. A submission is not the same as a nomination. And I think all the people sort of going crazy, like, oh my God, Million Dollar Baby is being nominated for a Grammy and has to go up against these other hip hop records. It's so unfair. Cool down. Nothing has been announced yet. And as I just said, I really cannot see a world where this record ends up making it to the next round and becoming an official rap nomination. For that to happen, a lot of voters at the Academy would have to be completely out of touch with the genre, have no idea what's going on. So if anything, that would be a litmus test. If we do see Million Dollar Baby in the rap category, that's a much bigger, institutional conversation that we need to have that goes far deeper than Tommy Richman. But all these conversations, it always goes back to the problem of genre. I understand that genres did have a place at one point when it was talking about pitching something to radio or to the media or publications, things like that. Even at an award show, everyone can't compete with everyone. There are those categories like Best New Artist, Album of the Year, Song of the Year, Record of the Year. But as we've seen historically, that can come with a lot of issues. How do you compare a Kendrick Lamar to a Taylor Swift to a Beyonce who've all come out, let's say, the same year? It's comparing apples to oranges. And based on who the voter base is, they're going to make their decisions based on the genre that they know and what they're familiar with. So I like the fact that the Grammys have said we need to add more categories and you need to be a subject matter expert in your category to be able to vote. That makes a lot of sense to me. But even if you look at the comments in my previous Tommy Richman video, I stood firm. Million Dollar Baby is not a hip hop record. And there were people in the comments fighting me. Absolutely not. The beat has hip hop elements. Tommy came through the Brent Faiyaz crew, so that's very much him getting that cosign. He's clearly influenced by hip hop. And what even is hip hop in 2024? As a genre, as a culture, it influences everyone. There is not one popular song or artist or celebrity who's not directly or indirectly influenced by hip hop. And even look at these categories: Best Rap Song and Best Melodic Rap Performance. What is melodic rap? Pretty much everything that comes out now is melodic. Is that use of auto-tune? Is it someone who really leans heavily on singing versus rapping? All of these words and nomenclature, I get that they're well-intentioned and they come from a good place, but it's so hard to put artists, especially now when genres are just bleeding and blending into each other. How do you really categorize music? So I think we just got to wait and see. Personally, if I was a betting woman, I don't think Million Dollar Baby is going to be nominated in any of these categories. I would be truly shocked. And if so, brace yourself. I think there's going to be a lot of backlash. So I think it's a lot of outrage for nothing. I think we got to wait and see, is it even nominated, and then go from there. But I want to know your thoughts and your predictions. Do you think Tommy Richman's record, Million Dollar Baby, is going to make it into the rap categories? What category would you put it in? I know that it's been on the R&B charts, which I also think is a misnomer. I think this should be a pop record, and maybe that's my own bias, just listening to the record, looking at Tommy Richman, but this just feels like a pop record. In my mind, his competition should be Sabrina Carpenter, Taylor Swift. In my mind, that's his competition, not any of these people in the rap category. But I want to know your thoughts. Let me know.